We both got super up in a great interview and ends up going an hour and a half into a podcast. Like, just be 30 minutes. He's like, actually, you're just the whole podcast. Never hit record.
Yeah. Oh, I said it on on last week's podcast. I had Mason Jones on, who fights in Cage Warriors. I was telling him about how many times I've come into the shed, which is where I record from, my shed in my garden, and I've done an hour and a half just talking to myself. That's how I started off the podcast, and my wife would phone me up, and then it would be gone. He's like, better start that again. but first of all, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. You know,
thank you.
I thought, just pinging it out there. I was like, let's see if I can get a big name out there. See if anyone's gonna hit up, and then what not better than ask a former US Marine to come on the show. And I thought I'd wear one of the shirts as well.
Nice.
Yeah, got to be done. So, what's in the pipeline at the minute? I saw some bad news the other day. Is that all true that they've released you, or?
It is, yeah. I wouldn't really consider it bad news. I mean, it's opening up a lot more opportunities. The moment that released and word got out about it, I was getting phone calls from my management, from PFL, from One, from Risen about opportunities. So it is giving me a lot more options available. I mean, when the Reebok deal happened with UFC, all of the UFC fighters that were on the roster, we all lost our sponsorships.
Yeah,
so we're talking that had these deals have been going on for years that, to be honest, most of us supplement our income and that really supported us financially were the sponsorships, not our fight money. And when we lost out on that, I know one of the fighters, he was making $200,000 a year in sponsorship and then went down to $2,500 a year. Like, that's not
that's not a small bit of change. That's huge.
Definitely. Yeah. So it's good news. And also fight frequency is I've been begging the UFC every year, and I only get 1 to 2 fights a year, regardless of how often I ask for it or how many times I take short notice fights. And so I actually have an opportunity to get more fights than just 1 or 2 a year.
Well, yeah, that's what you want. You want to stay active as much as you can.
Yes.
You know, you want to stay relevant as well. And I think personally, it's their loss. You're way up there, top 5 up there, and it's just madness. You were doing a press tour thing as well, weren't you, for him? And
yeah, I had just come from an event for them with some of the people from the UFC PR team, and we'd just gone to a hospital. The head of the hospital walked us out, just saying how that's probably the best that they've had about anybody coming out to help support them and just talk to the people that were going through chemotherapy and children. And they escort us out telling us that. And then I get the phone call from my management as I'm in the vehicle, like, this is a little bit awkward.
That can be more awkward. You could be like, go fuck yourself. I ain't doing it anymore. But yeah, like you said, when one door closes, another one opens. And, you know, getting your proper sponsors back on your shorts, on your walkout flag, all that sort of thing. It's going to make a huge difference. And I can't really say that I'm too up on sponsorships and things like that, but I listened to obviously The Fighter and the Kid and Below the Belt with Brendan Sharp, and he was a big advocate for you guys to get those sponsors. It was killing the fighters because you guys are the talent at the end of the day. You're the ones that put the asses in the seats, as they say. So it's like, come on, pay the fighters. You know, you got the people sitting in the boardrooms. They're not getting punched in the face for a living, are they?
Yeah, but I mean, that just reminds me of the military days. It's the people that, I mean, you can serve 4 years in the Senate and have life taken care of after that. You collect your salary every single month. I do 5 years in the Marine Corps and optionally go out to Iraq for my 3rd tour, and nothing comes of that. I mean, I can't so much as go on base. I can't. You lose all privileges.
Yeah. Well, it's the same over here as well. You get the politicians and that are got their nice little nest egg, and then you've still got veterans that are sleeping rough, and it's like, you're gonna help those guys out or what? And the lack of support, because the reason why I started the Granite Zero podcast was to help me deal with my own mental problems, issues, whatever you want to call it. suffering from depressions and things like that, and the lack of support from well, I don't really want to throw them under the bus, but from the military itself, it's like they're all about putting up the little posts every now and then, the Time to Talk campaign and things like that. It's like, okay, you do that once a year. You're gonna do any more for that, or not bother? There's loads of different things. It's like, it's just madness, but it's just the way it is these days, isn't it?
Fortunately.
Yeah. So what you've been up to today? You've been in a gym or?
Yep, been in the gym. I have soon to be 4-year-old, so we got him ready for. Then I jet off to the gym, put in a few hours with a few different trainers working on Muay Thai and some different striking techniques, and then jet off to school, pick him up, bring him back here, and let him ensue the madness with the puppies.
Yeah. Well, my daughter's 8 and 5, so I know that all too well.
Yeah.
My little monsters that I call them. I should say angels, being this close to Christmas, but definitely not.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to that naughty or nice list, they want to push it. Well, what exactly? I mean, how far can I push things to not be on the naughty list? I mean, if I'm right there on the line.
Yeah, we had it the other day. So they were giving me and the missus a bit of attitude, and they were fighting constantly, as girls do, sisters especially. And I literally went, what's coming up soon? And they were like, Christmas. I went, oh, so do you want your presents, or do you just want a lump of coal? And they were like, I don't want a lump of coal. I went, well, keep going and you're going to lose your presents, that's for sure.
Yeah, I picked my son up from school, and the first thing he says is, Mommy, did you get me anything special? I'm like, what? Hello? I just saw you. Like, dude, we're a week away from Christmas and your birthday. No, you're not getting anything until then.
Yeah, hey, just chill. Yeah, mine are the same. So he's like, oh, we've got our pocket money. Can we go to the toy shop? Definitely not. Absolutely not. It's Christmas. You lose. They're just mad. I wouldn't change them though. Wouldn't change them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why I like to reach out to fighters in particular on the show is I believe that fighters have got, well, not just fighters, I would say athletes in general have got a completely different mindset to regular humans. if you want to say that, because you get all those different setbacks in life, and it's the way you deal with them. And I believe that fighters, especially, 1 minute you're on top of the pile, the next minute you've had a loss, 2 losses, and you're like, oh, now what? And you have to try and get a grip of it, as it were. Mm-hmm. Do you have any special ways that you keep yourself focused and things like that?
I think one of the ways that I'm able to combat kind of the lethargic stage that can occur either before or after a fight. I mean, one of the things I enjoy about having a high fight frequency is that then you always have a reason to be in the gym, and you're always goal oriented, and it never allows you to fall back. I mean, one of the things I hold on to is that I always want to grow and evolve. So even if I want to take that time off, somebody else could be preparing, somebody else could be putting in the work. And one of the things that helps that is having a gym full of other fighters where it's like, okay, well, even if I don't have a fight coming up, they have a fight. Let me prepare and help them. Let me mimic their opponent to help them get ready. And in turn, by mimicking different styles and seeing different reactions, it only opens up your mind that much more to the things that you can evolve for yourself. And I think that that's really what allows me to not fall into well, it's the holidays. I don't have anything. Let me just go ahead. Do I have to put in 2 hours today? Nah, I can just, it's like, oh, okay, well, like Alima's in fight camp, and she fights this next weekend. So of course, like, okay, well, I'm gonna take this time off. And then she gets a phone call like, hey, everybody else didn't come in for Thanksgiving. I'm like, all right, I'll be there. So even on the days where you want to take off, you can't, because you want to support the fighters and make sure that they're as successful as possible. And I think not only thinking about my own agenda and my own goals, but also thinking about the people around me and how I can help them keeps me in there at all times. So I'm in there 24/7, 356 days a year.
Yeah, well, that's the best way to be. And I think you've also got that extra something different where you've got that military background as well. So you get instilled in the Marines, especially in my regiment as well, to train hard to fight easy. So you've got to put the time and the effort into training for it. Otherwise, God knows what'll happen once you get out into a war zone or even out into a steel cage. So it's the way it's got to be, I think. And
I agree.
And I also totally believe in the fitness itself. Where to a lot of people that listen to this avid gym goers and things like that, I believe that helps to put a positive mindset on things as well. Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, you gotta love what you do. If you're only in it and you treat every fight as just as a job, then you're only going to be in those moments in those fight camps.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the advantages that I have that I think myself more than other female fighters is because I stay in the gym. I can take last-minute phone calls because I stay ready. And it's just little modifications for that particular opponent. I mean, I've taken fights on as short as 9-day notice. So, like, hey, somebody just fell out. Do you want to fight for the belt? No big deal. In 9 days? Yeah, why not? Sure.
Yeah, why not? We'll give another go at that belt.
Yeah.
In fact, I was proper fanboying it up, actually. I was watching the countdown show. Literally, before I saw your message saying, do you fancy doing it tonight instead? I was like, sure. I was upstairs. I was literally watching the countdown show for your fight against Ronda. And I was like, I better gen myself up on this. So I got to go back to different things, see the backgrounds and all that sort of thing. I didn't want to come in like not knowing anything about you, so I thought, wow. But the thing is, I even put it on the actual post that I put on social media. I remember watching that fight with a load of Marines in I think you guys called it Camp Leatherneck, which is our version was Camp Bastion. So I was in the command center. It was my last tour of duty. I was on the radios. And I remember he does listen, so Sergeant Gammons was there in front of me. The big black US Marine, basically.
Yeah.
And I had Sergeant Metzger next to me as well. He was your typical geezer from Oklahoma who kept shouting "kill" every time anything was happening. No word of a lie, I had the best time on that tour. Those guys made it for me, and the banter that you have between Brits and the Americans, especially with the Marines, was amazing. And watching you almost, we were all gutted, almost put Ronda away with that rear naked. They were all up, they were shouting, the fucking whole command center was rocking, and she's gonna do it. But unfortunately, it's a shame, really.
Yeah.
Almost,
yeah.
Yeah. Life's a game of inches. How did you pick yourself up after that loss? It must have been a tough one.
It was a tough one, and I think more so because my family had never been or seen one of my fights before. My mom is big. You know, she was in the Vietnam era. She was there.
Oh.
Sorry about that. Is that working now? There we go. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Technical difficulties.
So she was volunteering as a candy striper, welcoming back the troops and watching all the negativity that they came back to between being spit on, between being cursed, families that turned their backs on them. And she didn't want me to endure that in the Marine Corps. And I tell her that the climate that we were in now is completely different than Vietnam. And I'm like, but unfortunately, I'm going to go to the Marine Corps. And she's like, of all branches, just please not the Marine Corps. And so, she's like, look, I support you. I support the troops. I just don't think that we can finish anything and really solve anything with war. And, agreed with her. But I was like, but there are things that I want to achieve and things that I want to change as far as the perspective on females. And I think I can do that in the Marine Corps. Then I get out of the Marine Corps and I'm like, hey, so I started getting into martial arts. She's like, oh, that's great. That's like perfect. Just do a little bit cage fight. She's like, cage fight. I'm like, oh, it incorporates all the martial arts together. She's like, that's great. That's like perfect for your attention span. And then one night looked it up and we were in different time zones. She was living in Okinawa, Japan at the time. And I was in San Diego. I get a phone call in the middle of the night, about, I think like 2 or 3 a.m. Are you kidding me? Cage fighting? I'm like, what? you woke me up. What's going on? So she's like, look, I would call her at the end of every fight. Hey, Mom, just want to let you know, I'm unharmed, totally fine. I finished my opponent. She's like, that's somebody else's daughter. It doesn't matter. I'm like, okay. So she's never watched it. She's always supported. She's like, I'm just going to read it on Twitter because they do a play-by-play, but never watched any fights. It was just too difficult for her. And then my sister just didn't really watch them until after, just because she wasn't able to view it for whatever reason. Yeah. But the Ronda fight was the first time I actually had them out there. So it was a new pressure having my family out there and difficult for them to see. And of course, they've never been in that environment, so they don't know what to say after the fight. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, what do we? I'm like, you guys don't say anything. Let's just move on. And the most difficult thing being is that I was so used to at that point in my career that win or lose, I was back in the gym on Monday. It didn't matter. And that was the first time that I wasn't there because I had family and I was showing them around. I finally had a few days off. So that was really difficult for me because the only thing I wanted to do was get right back to the grind and fix every mistake that I saw I made in the fight and trying to improve. And I had to just really mull on my own thoughts and my emotions. And normally I didn't have to. I'm like, cool, I just get right back on the grind. I don't have to think about anything, just fix everything. So I really actually just sit there and mull it over. And that was the most difficult thing.
That's probably the
I don't
worst.
want to think about these things or have these emotions. That's not work.
I don't want to talk about this. I want to go punch someone else in the face.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I had a similar thing, but it was on a lot lower scale. Clearly, before anyone gives me shit on fucking Instagram and that now, when I say this, clearly Liz was fighting Ronda Rousey in front of thousands of people for the title. Mine was a charity boxing match in front of about 2,000 people, but still.
Yeah.
Previously, I'd fought for the Air Force in a boxing match, and I was thrown into it on short notice, where I wasn't in any particular fight shape at all. I was a tiny little blob. I'm probably about the same sort of height as you, and I was weighing close to heavyweight in amateur boxing terms. And they basically told me if I didn't fight, then I'd be putting the regiment down. I'd be putting the squadron down. I was like, oh, well, I better do it. I ended up fighting a lad from the Olympic gym in Manchester that I ended up fighting. And I was doing all right up until the end of the second round, where he caught me and my legs went stiff. And I was like, oh no, I'm out. So I had a point to prove. And I went into a proper, I would say a proper fight camp. I was cutting weight. I was training every day, 2-3 times. I was getting my brother's strength and conditioning advice, all that sort of stuff. I was getting proper on it. And walking out there, I had my dad. My dad served in the military for 22 years. He came to watch me. My mum refused to watch me. She was like, I'm not watching you fight. I was like, it's a charity match, Mum. It's not going to be too bad. And she's like, no, I can't watch my baby getting punched in the face. I was like, okay. My brother came to watch me. So I had all my family there, my wife's side. I ended up stopping the guy in the second round, which was pretty good by a knockout, which I thought was incredible with 16-ounce gloves and headgear. I thought that was pretty good. Yeah. But I remember walking out, my music coming on, and I was like, I'm ready for this. And then I saw him come in. I was like, he's not ready for this. He's having it. So it's just mad. I remember the first fight I had within the Air Force, and I remember walking to the ring, and my legs were just not there. I was that nervous. There's only about 500 people there, but that's quite big for just an amateur boxing match for the military. My legs weren't there. I was like, I know I'm going to lose this as soon as I get trying to boxing move around the ring with your legs not working. It's not. Yeah. You must have had it when you've seen a female come into the cage and just seen it in her eyes that she's not ready for you.
Yeah, there's definitely been points, whether it's at weigh-ins and I can see it like, no. And like, I'll turn to my coach like, she's going to lose. She just broke at weigh-ins looking. I mean, it's already done. And sometimes I'll be like, all right, cool. I think she's going to be a little bit scrappy. And I see it as we're walking and I'm like, then we're looking at each other. I'm like, dude, she won't make eye contact. This is it. And there are other times where I look, I'm like, this is going to be a good fight. She's not looking down. We're going to actually do this thing. There's been moments or I see it walking up to the cage, I see it backstage, or I see it across the cage just as we're about to go. And then other days where it's like, she has no intention of losing this fight. It's going to be a good one.
Oh, that's good. They're the better type of fights, aren't they? When it's an actual scrap, especially when I find when you're watching it, you're like, oh, listen, I can't lie. When I watch the women fight, it's like they've got that little bit extra, like they want to prove that little bit more. It's like because they've been sort of, oh, it's women fighting, you don't want to watch that. And now the blokes are watching them and they're like, fuck me, look at these girls scrap. It's incredible. It's like, you wouldn't want to fight a woman. Animals.
I think it's just like female pettiness. It's, a lot of women when they fight, it's hair pulling and eye gouging and things like that. So I think that self-restraint of not enacting those kind of makes them put a little bit more fire under their punches and kicks in the fight.
Yeah. So have you got who have you got on your radar, as it were? Or do you have any sort of what is it? What was I trying to say then? It's gone out of my head. It's a good interview, isn't it?
Organizations.
Yeah. Which organizations have been snapping you up?
Yeah, the great thing is all of them. I mean, the moment that the PR release came out about the UFC and how they released me in general, all the organizations started contacting my management and trying to negotiate a deal. And right now, what we're trying to figure out is not even financially how it's going to fit and who's going to pay the biggest. It's just a matter of who's going to be able to give me the most fights. We're able to do. I'm not sure. I don't recall which organization, but one of them offered a lot of money, but they're like, "Hey, the most we can get her is maybe 2 fights a year." I'm like, "That's the same fight frequency I'm getting now. I want to be able to finish out these next few years, maxing out as many fights as I can possibly handle, as many as my body will let me. I want to. So doing 1 or 2 a year is not what I'm looking for. So we're trying to find one that's not only going to have the fight frequency that I want, but also an organization I connect with, and I like the people that work there.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people that I saw day to day with the UFC, I adore them. They're great people, like Susie Freet and Reed Harris, and a lot of other people. I look forward to every time that I would go into the UFC and I'd see them. So I want to be able to have that same enthusiasm, not only for the fight, but to the people that I'm having to do all these things behind the scenes with.
You still got to have that little bit of rapport with the management, to get the best fights that you can get. Not just always as many as you can get. You just want to get the better fighters out there as well. Obviously, there's quite a few transition from the UFC seem to be going back or towards Bellator. That's what it seems to be the next benchmark, as it were. It'd be fucking brilliant to see you fighting the likes of Katz in Ghana, maybe on Bellator.
Yeah, I mean, the only disadvantage of that is that Kat's a 145er, 135er. And truly, I walk around under 145. So to do something like fighting at 145 just doesn't make any sense. I mean, even at 135, I was significantly smaller than all my opponents. And it was a matter of like, hey, I want to fight the best in the world, then I'll do it in an inappropriate weight because it doesn't make sense. But when we're going to be, if it was going to Bellator and I'm fighting up 2 weight classes, that makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. But it just shows your versatility that you can fight at several different weights. You can. That's always good. But it's also can be a bit of a hindrance, I guess, when they just phone you up and say, "Do you fancy fighting this weight?" Do I have to? Do I have to fight this monster?
Well, it's a matter of like at 145, those women are cutting down anywhere between 170 to 190 down to 145. So, I mean, a weigh-in day, I look exactly how I do now. And I mean, when I'm in fight camp and I'm really pushing and have a good diet and training as much as I do, I struggle to stay at 135. So the idea of that, once I'm really on the grind, there's no way. I mean, I step on the scale, I'm like, sorry, 10 pounds lower than you. Like, it wouldn't be smart.
Yeah, exactly. That's a mad thing, isn't it? Weight cutting. I'm glad that I don't have to because I'm a foodie. I eat everything in it, everything and anything.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Like I said when I was going through, because I don't know what made me possess me to do the charity boxing match in the first place, and then to actually go into a proper fight camp and cut weight, I was a grumpy bastard all day. All day. What's the matter with you? Well, I'm hungry, I've just
See, I'm just not grumpy if I can feed other people. I'm that weird sicko that's watching the Food Network on the spin bike and like just like, all right, let's keep burning these calories. And then the weirdo who like I go into the gym, one of the guys, he's acting grumpy. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? He's like, I'm just hangry, haven't eaten. I'm like, I got you. Give me 5 minutes. I'm gonna go get you. Come back with food for me. He's like, Liz, I can't eat all this. I'm like, gotta let me smell it. It looks good. Are you liking it? It looks really good to me. Like I'm that weirdo. Like, let me smell your food. Let me smell your breath. I won't eat it, but just let me smell it.
Like you're getting the calories from just smelling it. Getting the fuel. I wish I could do that. I swear that I look at a milkshake or something and my ass jiggles for like a week.
My teammates think I'm ridiculous.
Really. Me and my brother is usually my producer, but he's off doing whatever he's doing today. So I've got to do it on my own. But we are very similar. We're both pretty much the same height. There's 4 years between us, pretty much the same height. But he is tiny framed, where I'm like a wardrobe. That's the only way I can describe myself, is I'm a wardrobe. I'm a perfect square. It's ridiculous. So he's one that can eat whatever he wants and doesn't seem to put on any weight at all. I have a salad and I gain 8 pounds.
Oh yeah, I train so that I can eat. It's like, yeah, I stay in the gym to help out everybody else, but it's also that I can eat the disgusting food that I want to.
Yes, that's your fuel at the end of the day. And you're an athlete, so you need those good calories to get it in. Which is what everyone needs. That's the crazy thing. Everyone goes, well, I've got to go on a diet. Well, you could just burn off the food that you're eating. But
True.
It is what it is. It is what it is. So do you still keep in touch with the Marine Corps people that you served with, that sort of thing?
Yeah, there's a few people that I still keep in contact with. I'll see that they live in San Diego. A lot of them, MOS that I had, I used to be an electrician on helicopters, and the helicopter that I particularly worked on was decommissioned and replaced by B-22.
Yeah,
So a lot of people have changed MOSs and gone elsewhere. So keeping track with them has just been difficult. Other people, when they're in San Diego, or if I happen to go to the state that they're stationed in, we'll link up and have meals together and have a good time.
That's always good. I'm quite lucky in that way that some of my closest friends actually live literally around the corner from me. So we all seem to leave at the same time. We jokingly call it the regiment graveyard down here because there's so many of us. But yeah, it's a strange thing. I think with military and veterans itself. It seems that even if you don't speak to them for years and years and years, you can go just straight back into exactly how you were.
Oh, absolutely.
And a lot of people, like in my regular human job that I do now, not just sitting having chats with famous former UFC fighters, they don't seem to understand like my dark sense of humor, my banter and things like that. They're like, I don't understand what you mean. It's like, well, you wouldn't because you're not a brother.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There are jokes that I would tell to a fellow Marine or anybody I know that's just a veteran for any of the services that I would never say to like a common person. Because I'll make a morbid joke like, it's okay, it just blew off the leg. And people are like, what? Like, you thought it was funny?
That's it. That's the big thing, that you have to have that sort of dark sense of humor, I feel, with the military. And one of my close friends, he's actually coming on the show in January. He had both of his legs blown off in an IED in our last tour of Afghanistan, and I laugh now. His handle on Instagram is Legless Robbo, and and his charity is Team Legless, which is quite funny. And
nice.
one of his leaving gifts that he got was or I don't know if it was a leaving gift or if it was just a gift anyway, is from his favourite, you guys call it soccer. You guys call it soccer. I'm going to refer to it as football.
Fair enough.
His favourite football team basically had a shirt made for him, but instead of having 11 for his number, it had like 11 and a half.
Nice.
Yeah. It's like my wife's like, why are you finding that funny? I went, well, he's got no legs. And she was like, yeah. I went, well, you've got to laugh at it. You can't just feel sorry for him all the time.
Oh yeah, my son had seen one of my buddies who's in a wheelchair and he doesn't have legs. And of course he's like, Mommy, he doesn't have legs. He goes, oh, where did they go? I lost them. So I'm dying laughing. My son's confused. Like, did we go help him find his legs? Like, all right, how do I explain to a 4-year-old? Like, no, all right. But, you know, like Joke said, yeah, let's laugh about this. You can, in anything in life, is you can let it weigh you down. You can let it be difficult on you. You can emotionally just drag you through a loop, or you can just laugh it off. I mean, there are plenty of situations that anybody can say they have negative, and everybody's a matter of perspective. It's subjective to them. And they can laugh it off, or they can let it take its course and run them through.
Yeah. Well, I found that when I first started going through the problems that I had mentally, I lost that little bit of myself where I would take the piss, because that's all I did. I used to take the piss out of everything. I'd joke about everything, and I'd be all sorts of sarcastic about everything. That had gone. I was just literally a grumpy, depressed bloke that was walking around the house feeling sorry for himself. And it wasn't until I had a conversation with one of my friends, and then I had a further conversation with my brother, and he was like, where's it gone? And I was like, what? He went, why are you feeling sorry for yourself all the time? You need to dust yourself off and start finding that part of Tommo that is disappeared. I was like, yeah, you're right there. And when I actually started and thought about it, it was like, I can't just be depressed all the time. I've got to try and laugh it off, basically.
Yeah.
And I find having a laugh and a giggle with friends and literally just talking on here, on the reason why I started the podcast in the first place was to just talk, basically. Yeah. And it's fucking helped me no end. Seriously, it's like having a conversation with yourself, someone who I have never met, and it's weird how you can just have a conversation with someone you've never met and it just flows nicely. And it's like brilliant.
Yeah, I think for every veteran, it's just a matter of them connecting and finding what works for them. You know, for some people, it's the way that they come back to who they were, that they find some light through all the misery that they're experiencing. For some people, it's humor. For me, it was working out and being able to get in there and hit stuff. That's what worked for me. You know, like other people, like an axe throwing place. You know, there's something that everybody has to connect with. But for veterans, it's a matter of being able to see all this fog in front of them and step around it to go find that. And I think that's a lot of the issue comes in, is they just see the fog and they get stuck in and they don't try and work through it. Instead of realizing it's fog. You survived here. Yeah. And but of course that's people with mental illness. That's veterans that are going through everything with their PTSD, physical and emotional injuries. And I think for everybody, it's just a matter of, we get so caught up in something as simple as a fog in front of us and don't realize how easy it is to just walk through it.
Exactly. You gotta sometimes you just gotta bite down and just smash through it and get out of there. I think a lot of veterans, and I found it was one of my big things, was you lose that part of yourself, that you then lost your lack of purpose. Like I was always Tommo, who served in the military, and then I left, and it's like, now what am I?
Yeah.
And that is the big struggle. And I've now found that a lot of veterans that I speak to online, whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, what have you, they've all seemed to have started a little community of veteran-run businesses and things like that. And and everyone seems to be within this support network. And it's like you'll put a little post up or something, and then everyone seems to start liking it, and then you're like, oh. And all of a sudden you're starting to feel fucking happy about yourself again. It's like, oh, brilliant. Like, a veteran hit me up the other day. He just said, "Do you mind just sharing on your story about my new business?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. What is your business, first of all, before I just start posting everything out there?" And he's a carpenter. And he does loads of stuff through woodwork. He mounts people's medals into nice little frames and all that sort of thing. And I think it's veteran wood or something like that. I'm sorry if I fucked that up, whatever the actual thing is. I'm terrible at keeping notes. That's usually my brother's job, but he's not here. But yeah, he was like, fucking hell. So you've managed to find a new identity through playing with wood, basically. As mad as that sounds. It's I just think the different. I think that within the veteran community, I think it must be similar in the fighters community. That it's just one big happy family. You give each other. I even put a post up about it actually a few weeks ago, and it's they will call you every name under the sun to your face. They can call you a fucking idiot, pardon my French, a cunt, anything like that. But as soon as someone says it behind your back, they're straight in there on them. Fighters must be the same. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you can have. For my sins, I was in the Air Force, so we get shit from everyone. But as soon as a civilian then has a go at you, they're like, "Well, who do you think you're talking to? He actually did some work." It's just finding communities that you can be a part of, I think. And you know, I spoke to Jack Shaw the other day, who was saying that they've built a beautiful community around his new gym, and it just seems to they bring people in off the streets and what have you, and it changes their life around. And I think it's a brilliant thing. I think fitness, martial arts, anything like that, boxing. I highly suggest it to anyone who's feeling down and out, depressed, anything like that.
Oh no, big time. Yeah, I think that when it comes to the military and when it comes to fighting, it's an all-consuming lifestyle. The difference being like your 9-to-5 job is it's exactly that. It's a 9-to-5 job. You go in, you log in, you log out, you're done. You know, you pull in your punch card, you do your hours, and when you go home at the end of the day, your work stays there. Well, when it comes to fighting, when it comes to the military, there is no off switch. If you have an off switch, that means that you're not performing the job the way that you're supposed to in either aspect and in either field. And I think that that's what's different is we get out, and that's our whole identity is being a military personnel, being a fighter. And then you get out and you're like, well, this has been my whole identity, my whole lifestyle. What do I do now? And I think that that's where the difficulty comes in. And part of the benefits that I found by transferring into fighting is exactly what you're talking about, is you find other veterans, you find a community, and you basically make yourself your own little unit outside of the military that helps you get together, and you can connect with people that speak similar jargon, have similar experiences, understand your dark sense of humor, and you can connect with and try new things and learn new things.
100%. That's people that are listening to this. They need to listen to Liz more often. She knows this. You must be pretty switched on then if you were a helicopter technician, right?
Yep.
Jesus. I was literally infantry. That was me.
Nice. I tried. At that time, the MOSs weren't open. I remember going, well, my recruiter was based out of Guam, and I was in Okinawa, Japan. And I had contacted my recruiter, I think via email, or I might have called him and just said, like, hey, I want to join the Marine Corps. I'm interested in A, B, C, D, and D for MOSs. And he's like, it's great. ASVAB score, a lot you can do any MOS you want. I'm like, yes, awesome. Counterintelligence, recon. Like, give me one of those. I want one of the awesome jobs. Well, you can't. You're okay. Well, what about this one? Oh, you can't. You're a woman. I'm like, okay, why don't you tell me the MOSs I can do as a woman? Oh, just these ones. I was like, that's not what I want. And I specifically told him, like, hey, fine. Like, at this point, just give me a job that I'll always be traveling. Give me a job where just by doing it, I get a workout. And it keeps me busy and never lets me sit still. Just whatever it is, don't let it have anything to do with electricity. Needless to say, I got everything I asked for minus the electrical part.
Yeah. Well, for most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've literally, I'm not sure if it's the same over there, but they've literally opened up every role now to females within the British military. I don't know if it's the same over there.
They have, yeah. Women haven't necessarily been able to succeed in going through all the schools, but they have opened up all the combat
Yeah.
lessons.
We have literally just had 2 females finally pass into the infantry.
Nice.
I think they've passed into the rifles regiment within the army, which fair play to them. You know, it's like you are the first 2 women to do it. You're now going to be forever in history.
Oh.
And fucking fair play to you. I know that there's been a number. Pillows all. I know there's been a number of women trying out within my personal regiment, because my regiment was the first one to open up all jobs.
Oh, wow.
But nobody seems to have passed the infantry phase yet. I'm not sure if it's because of the weight they're carrying, or if it's just the mentality of the women trying to do it, or what have you. But like I've said it countless times on here, if they can do it without changing the rules too much within like weights and what have you, if they can do it exactly the same as the men, fucking hats off to you.
And I absolutely agree. My fear when they started opening up all the MOSs to women is there was a discussion about lowering the standards to allow them to go in. I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. If they can't meet this standard, it's standardized. If they can't meet it, it doesn't matter. Female, here at the end of the day, if they can't pick up a 50 cal rifle and their buddy can, then they shouldn't be in that MOS. It's that simple. If they can't perform the run, they can't do the pull-ups, they have no business doing it. And I know that I definitely tried to go back in once I heard of the combat MOSs. I was running to the recruiter like, please, let me back in. I would love to. And the Marine Corps just changed their tattoo policy and wouldn't allow me to go back in, even though my tattoos had already been signed off when I was in the Marine Corps.
That's a mad one.
Yeah, that one really blows my mind, because to me, the Marines were created out of a pub. Like, the Marines were the crazy people. Those are the people you want, like, oh, that guy's about to go to prison. Hey, if you don't want to go to prison, you can go shoot people instead. You wanted the crazy people that you knew, guaranteed when they go to combat, they're not going to be scared. They're not going to back down. They're going to perform and complete the mission. You don't want the people that are scared to shoot a rifle. Yeah, exactly. And that seems like kind of where the Marine Corps is going right now, is they want more PG versions of Marines, and they want an appearance. They don't want the performance.
You can't have a PG Marine. That's
no.
God, have they seen Full Metal Jacket? But I've always found things like tattoos and what have you. I remember it would be the equivalent of a staff sergeant, I believe, possibly a little bit higher. We call him a flight sergeant. So basically, he's got 3 stripes and a crown. He's quite high up, almost a warrant officer. But anyway,
okay.
He I don't know if it's the same with you guys, but with the sideburns, you can't have them past the middle of your ear. And he had these fucking ridiculous. We were on tour, ridiculous sideburns. Like he was
chops.
Yeah, like chops, and they were like, "You're gonna have to bring your sideburns up." And he literally just went, "What part of my sideburns are going to stop me from soldiering?" And they went, they were like, and he went, "Exactly. So I'm going to leave my sideburns where they are." And I think it's the same with tattoos. Yeah, if you're on parade, you shouldn't really be having tattoos all over your hands. But then, if you're on parade, then you wouldn't be getting those sort of tattoos. If you just want to be your bog standard rifleman, then you're not going to be. In our version, you're not going to be going to visit the Queen with tattoos all over your hands.
Yeah, and my whole thinking is just don't let it be offensive. Absolutely, you're representing the military, but if every other branch has tattoos and get them on their neck, but not the Marine Corps, that's not representing. You want to represent the highest standard, absolutely. But at the end of the day, if I have somebody that's overweight and they can't make it to here to run, and I have tattoos and I can. I mean, do you really think that tattoos are going to influence anything? I mean, you can't perform, so.
Exactly. That is. It's just. So I remember going to our recruiters, and they were like, "Have you?" At the time, I only had one tattoo. It was on in my shoulder blades, and they were like, "Have you got any tattoos?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've got one." And they went, "Is it covered?" Yeah, you can clearly see that it's covered. And they were like, "Okay, well, you can go through this part of the I was like, and then I got onto the unit, and it's like everyone's covered in them. So why does it matter? It's like got them, allowed them on their hands and all sorts. They're like,
yeah,
it's just bizarre. It just doesn't affect the way you soldier. If you've got a tattoo. If anything, it makes you harder. It makes you stronger. Definitely. Oh, fucking hell. So what? So you're flying somewhere? Did you say Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm gonna head out to Hawaii with Alima for a fight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. We usually, if much as possible, if we can, we're usually there supporting each other. We're our main training partners, whether it's supporting each other in fight camp or actually going out and cornering each other for fights. I mean, she was there at I can't think of a fight she hasn't been cornering me at. And in turn, I try and go to as many for her as possible. Yeah, so I'm gonna head out there and hopefully get to participate in the USO event, get to go out there, support the troops, boost morale, things like that.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Oh, I did notice, actually, because you fought on the Fight for Troops, didn't you, for the UFC? Mm-hmm. Against Alexis Davis, was it?
Yes.
Yep. See, like that research. They stopped doing it, haven't they?
Yeah, they stopped doing it, and why was it? I want to say that it's just trying to get on base. I mean, even when we fought for that, being a veteran, I'm like, oh yeah, getting back on base should be super easy for me. They're like, we need this, and this, and background check for this. I'm like, what? I just got out of the Marine Corps like 2 years ago. Nothing's changed. So I think that it was just really difficult to try and get everybody authorized to be allowed to be on base to fight.
I can see why.
So I think that's what happened.
Yeah, it's perhaps. here's a food for thought. Don't actually do it on the camp. Do it somewhere else, but do it for the troops that way. But
yeah,
they were good shows. I remember watching them thinking, these are fucking brilliant. But it's something that over here, as much as we love our military over here, there's still certain things that it's like they get forgotten about, sort of thing. And it's like little events like I've seen before, and I'm a huge fan of his, which is Ricky Gervais. Obviously, he's a proud Englishman. He's once done a charity show over in America for the American troops, and I was like, "Are you going to do that over here for us or no?" Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to love watching those ones, seeing because you guys are so passionate. I feel for your veterans and things like that and then seeing them all singing the national anthem, I was like, even though it's not my national anthem, I still get goosebumps. I'm like, that's brilliant. Yeah. Love to go and see that. It must be even better if you're fighting on it.
Yeah, I think for the United States, Vietnam was a huge wake-up call for them. How they treated the military personnel. I mean, the benefit that they had is through the years is now they have their children, Vietnam vets, now have their children that are joining the military. And they were able to treat them differently and understand what they were going to be coming back with. So I think because of that, it offered a different perspective in how we approach military active duty and veterans now. And the awareness has gone out there. But I absolutely agree with you. I don't see that in other countries. I don't see the same support. I mean, there are people that I grew up with and had no idea that their parents had ever been in the military. There was nothing that suggested anywhere in their home. They never spoke of it. Nobody ever did. And to find out like, oh yeah, and their brother's still in. I'm like, what? How did I not know any of this? I've known you for 10 years. And it's just something that's not supported and it's not spoken about.
Yeah. Well, I even find that in my own family. Like like I said, my dad, he did 22 years. He was a parachute jumping instructor. So I give him shit for that anyway, because why would you want to jump out of a perfectly serviceable airplane?
Guilty.
But he was attached to Special Forces as their jump instructor. So he did a fair bit.
Cool.
My granddad actually did a very similar job to you. He was an aircraft technician during World War II. And he also went out to Burma and places like that. And he ended up getting a very distinguished medal. He's got the British Embassy medal, which is quite a high up one for valor. I've asked my family, what did he get it for? Nobody knows.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, well, how do you not know? And I was like, unfortunately, he passed away before I was born, so I never met him. But it's like, how do we not know how he got it? It's a medal for valor, but nobody knows what for.
Yeah.
My dad sort of has an inkling what he did. It was during a contact. He managed to get a helicopter up and running while it was being shot at, or something along those lines. But try and go through military war records and things like that. They ask you to pay for it. I'm like, are you joking?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, I'll find out at some point. But at the minute, my brother is quite funny. He's like, why have you got granddad's medals? And I'm like, because I served in the military and you didn't, so I get to have them.
You understand and appreciate them better. That's why.
Yeah, so they're now pride and place next to mine, which is always nice. But yeah, definitely, it's a strange one because over here we have basically 2 days. We have Remembrance, which is on the 11th of November.
Okay.
It's pretty much worldwide, I think. I think yours is similar. Yep. Memorial Day. And then we have Armed Forces Day, which is around June time-ish. Okay. So we literally have 2 days for it.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's like, all right, you having a good day? Yeah, cheers. I actually felt really good this Remembrance Day. I had a few beers with the lads, and then I went back to. I live in a little village, small little community, and I went to my local pub, and an old boy came up and bought me it because I was in my my blazer with my medals on, my squadron badge, that sort of thing, and he was like, "I just want to thank you for your service," and then he bought me a beer, and I was like, that actually made me feel really good that someone has taken their time to come out and say something like that. And then he bent down to my daughter and said, "You want to be proud of your dad?" And I was like, you know, getting all choked up. I was like, man up, come on. Can't cry.
Yeah. And I think I feel the same way because you don't. There's a lot of places that still to this day don't acknowledge the efforts that our military do. Because at this point, I'm not sure like for your country, but for us, if you go into the military, it's a choice. It's voluntarily.
Yeah.
So that means that it's not forced upon you. It's not because you turned 18. You had no choice. You're being drafted. The people that are going in are choosing to defend the country and choosing to support and help everyone. So to do anything less than to do your best to support them, to me, is ridiculous. Yeah. I don't get it.
Oh, yeah, I don't get it. And there was at one point, while I was still serving, we were getting so much backlash from being out in Iraq and Afghanistan that when we were traveling home from camp or whatever, and we got public transport, they told us not to wear our uniform just in case it offended someone, or you might get attacked and things like that. Yeah. So I can't go on a train in my uniform to go home because I might offend someone. Over here, it's very much like that. At the minute, we're going through a bit of a transition. We've now got a new prime minister and things like that. So it's all, the country's a bit doolally. Mm-hmm. But there's always been that thing like, unlike you guys over there, where you can have your flag outside the house on a flagpole. If we did that over there, we will offend a neighbour down the road. And it's like, we'll have the council coming over. Can you remove your flag? And it's like, how about I give you the finger? You are not. Yeah, the only time you ever see any English or British flags flying out of people's houses is during a World Cup.
Yeah.
In soccer or rugby.
Yeah. Just a heads up, my phone's about to die. I didn't realize how much Skype was killing it.
Oh, no problem. We can close it there if you like.
Okay, yeah, that works.
Yeah.
That way, I'm
I
just
don't
like
want
make
it to-
conversation.
I don't
Cut it
want
off.
it to go, and they'll be like, "Oh, brilliant."
Yeah.
But seriously, thank you very much for coming on. It's been an honor and a privilege to have such a distinguished Marine and MMA veteran now, I guess.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so thank you very much for coming on, and you're welcome on anytime if you've got fucking 10 minutes spare. Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Good catching up with you. Thank you. Have a good one.
And you.